the challenges that college students encounter. So let's talk about urban poverty. University students claim that urban poverty is a complex problem that affects their capacity to excel academically and have a positive self-image in general. Many factors such as social marginalization, poor housing conditions, financial difficulties, and restricted access to resources can have a significant impact on urban underprivileged university students' educational experience and outcomes. Even though going to college is a common ambition, it can be challenging, especially for people from rural backgrounds. These challenges, according to International Islamic University Malaysia, are integrate and have deep cultural and social roots.
Now, do you want to know the biggest obstacles to higher education for rural students? One of the biggest obstacles to higher education for rural students, particularly those attending universities, is financial. Financial constraints prevent that the first member of a family in the bottom 40% income category B40 from accepting an offer to study at Institution of High Learning or IPT. And according to Site 2020, universities should support these students in concentrating on their studies by removing these financial obstacles, which will eventually enable them to grow into people who are part of the country and contribute to its economic progress. So, after considering this, the study uses a survey of active IUM students to look at the main financial difficulties that rural students face, as well as how these difficulties affect their academic performance and general well-being at IUM. It should also make recommendations for how to make improvements to the financial support system that are currently in place for rural students at IUM. Because university students are the future leaders of our society, this study focuses on university students specifically at IUM. As such, they must prioritize their education because they will grow up to be proud citizens who support the nation's economic development.
Next, let's delve into the theoretical framework. The idea of structural functionalism offers an appropriate sociological framework for analyzing and comprehending this issue. This theory can provide important insight into the financial challenges faced by rural students. It sees society as a complex system whose component cooperates to foster stability and integration. From this perspective, social processes and institutions exist because they serve vital roles in maintaining the stability and continuation of society. Through the dissemination of knowledge, skills, and values, education as a social institution is essential to upkeep of the social order. All students, regardless of their socio-economic situation, are expected to receive an education from IIUM as an educational institution. Nonetheless, the financial difficulties that rural students encounter point to a problem with the educational system. The institution fails in its duty to promote equal access to education if rural students are unable to pay tuition, housing, and other educational costs. This has an impact on social mobility and integration, leading to dysfunction.
Do you guys ever wonder what the past research say? From Bjorn's studies, he believed that rural students often encounter financial constraints, lack of academic preparation, and cultural dislocation when transitioning to university environments. Additionally, Ali also found that these students may have limited access to technology and educational resources, further exacerbating their academic difficulties. Now, let's talk about the sociological significance relating to the issue. The difficulties encountered by rural students at IIUM are not limited to personal obstacles. Rather, they reflect broader socio-political problems such as social stratification and inequality. The disparity in educational attainment between peoples in rural and urban areas highlights systematic differences in the distribution of resources, the standard of education, and the availability of socioeconomic support. Resolving these issues is essential for students' personal growth as well as for promoting inclusiveness and social justice in the educational system. Improving the resource available to assist rural students will help to lessen educational disparities and encourage social mobility, which will enhance society as a whole.
In summary, the experiences of rural students at IUM serve as a metaphor for the complex relationships among cultural capital, educational accessibility, and socioeconomic status. We can better understand and address the obstacles these students confront by exploring the theoretical foundations and empirical studies on the subject, ultimately striving towards a more inclusive and fair higher education system.
What then are we discussing about here? When we compare to their urban friends, rural students at the Islamic International University Malaysia encounter greater financial obstacles, which has a negative impact on both their academic performance and overall university experience. Given that rural students at the Islamic International University Malaysia are now unprepared to manage their financial demands, major changes to the financial support system could significantly enhance their academic performance and general well-being. The socio-economic background of rural students at the Islamic International University Malaysia influences the type of financial issues they face. If IIUM's current financial support methods are modified to take into account the particular financial constraints faced by rural students, their academic performance and overall well-being will greatly increase compared to the current situation.
Report on financial difficulties in urban higher education. Want to dive into financial difficulties in urban higher education? Students at higher education institution (HIEs) experience a variety of financial difficulties that impact their general well-being and academic performance. An in-depth investigation of this financial issue is presented in research by Dow and others in 2018, which identifies several significant areas where students encounter serious challenges. Experiences of students facing financial difficulties to access higher education in the case of the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Curious about students' experience in other contexts? According to a qualitative research by Nokohanya Shanghai, the study focuses on the experience of students in higher education, specifically students at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, facing financial difficulties and how this impact their academic performance. Semi-structured interviews were conducted by 50 participants, revealing their financial struggles, coping mechanisms, and the impact of movements like #B must fall against high tuition costs. The challenges of higher education for rural students in urban universities in Cambodia. So, what about Cambodia? The article explores major obstacles that Cambodian rural students face when they transfer to urban colleges to pursue higher education. Authors from University of Cambodia provide a qualitative study that delves into these challenges, including financial impediments, social and language barriers, and academic difficulties. Dropouts in higher education, causes and solutions. And what about dropouts? Research has been conducted to understand the causes of dropouts in higher education and propose solutions. Financial factors are among the leading causes of students' withdrawal, with efforts being made to alleviate this through financial aid and subsidies.
Wondering how we approach this study? In order to fully explore the financial challenges of rural students at International Islamic University Malaysia, this study employed a quantitative research design. Using purposive sampling, we identified active rural students who were most relevant to the study subject. Online surveys were then distributed directly to the selected students via WhatsApp and Telegram, ensuring that the responses specifically came from the targeted population. This approach helped us gather focused and relevant data to address this research objective effectively. Next, let's talk about the data collection. The online surveys included both closed-ended and open-ended questions. This combination allowed for a comprehensive understanding of the financial challenges that the rural students at IUM face. Don't worry, ethical considerations were paramount. The purpose of the study was explained to the participants and also their free consents were sought. Respondent identity and confidentiality were upheld at all times.
Do you curious about what we found? The survey on financial challenges faced by rural students at IIUM reveals several critical issues. The respondents' biggest financial challenges included the cost of textbooks, everyday expenses, transportation, and tuition. Daily expenditures were pointed out by the majority of students, with the percentage 87.5% as their primary source of financial struggles.
So, what does this all mean? The foundation of both individual and community growth is education, which is a fundamental right, but money problems frequently pose serious obstacles, especially for students from rural areas. These financial constraints negatively impact their academic achievement and general well-being.
Let's uncover the financial landscape of rural students. IIUM's rural students frequently come from low-income households. Many rural households rely mostly on agriculture for their income, which is typically less reliable and pay less than jobs in cities. Next, let's discuss the impact. Rural IIUM students face numerous negative consequences on their well-being and academic performance due to financial hardships. For instance, having to work part-time jobs often forces students to sacrifice their study time and academic focus. So, how can we address these financial obstacles? A diverse strategy is needed. Firstly, it is imperative to raise awareness and make financial aid more accessible. Secondly, providing rural students with access to e-textbook can greatly reduce their financial burden. And finally, offering mental health resources and cultivating a supportive community can assist rural students in managing financial stress.
In conclusion, the financial difficulties faced by rural students at IIUM have a significant and complex impact on their academic performance, university experience, and well-being. By implementing targeted policies and support structures, IIUM can ensure that all students, regardless of their socioeconomic situation, have the chance to flourish both intellectually and emotionally. Last but not least, thank you for your time. Bye!